Hi everyone, or 안녕 친구들 as I should start, right? So I just got done filming Goo Family Book episode 18 video recap, and as you can tell, I have changed my hairstyle. And for those of you who've been following my blog and you read my Master's Son episode 2 blog recap, then you'll know why I have my hair in these pigtails, right? But ideally what I wanted to do was make each video for the Master's Son or 태양의 주군 or 주군의 태양, make each video 2 episodes, worth of recap. And part of it is I'm anticipating what my schedule is going to be like once the fall term starts, and yeah, so unlike the Goo Family Book, I am planning on recapping still on my blog, and I'll leave my blog information down in the description bar. The episodes 1, 2, I've got 3. I'm working on number 4 right now, and things like that. But I can already anticipate having not that much time to video recap on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And so what I'm planning on doing is blogging Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday when I have some time off, do a video recap of the 2 episodes of that week. So let's go ahead and get started. I had to refresh my memory about episode 1, and we're going to be doing it very I guess in a compact form. So episode 1 starts us off with our main character, Kong Hyo-jin, and she's kind of an insomniac. She can't sleep, of course. She's got bags under her eyes, and she's kind of shuffling around the apartment complex, which we find out actually is one of those study motel places where students who are studying for a big exam can rent room. Basically, it's like a boarding house. But anyway, she is the caretaker there. And so she cleans up and does all sorts of, like maintenance things. Well, she finds out from the employee, the owner, that apartment 404 has been vacated yet again, and she needs to clean. And the look on her face is just one of pure dread, and we find out why, because there is a ghost in that room. Now, those of you who know me or have been following me on my blog, you know I am the biggest scaredy cat in terms of watching suspense movies and horror films. I'm totally okay walking around my house in complete darkness at night, but for some reason, horror films, suspense films, I just jump 3 feet in the air, literally, when I watch that. And so, The Master's Son, I've been surviving watching The Master's Son because I watch it in broad daylight while on my treadmill. So it's been interesting. But anyway, so we find that's kind of our introduction to her and her, I guess, her supernatural, experiences and such. Sorry, I'm being, oh dear. All right. Anyway, sorry. I have my iPad open and Kakao Talk is like all over the place. But since I don't really edit my videos, we're just going to roll with the flow. So anyway, that's our introduction to her. And while that's happening, we find out that our main guy, Chu Jung-won, played by So Ji-sub, is this very heartless, very cold, calculating businessman, CEO of a mall structure, and he is conferencing with a ajoshi, or a grieving, husband, who initially had said that he would sell his plot of land to Jungwon's company so that they can build a golf course, but has since then said, no, I'm not going to sell it because, and his explanation is that his dead wife is inhabiting the house, and she makes her presence known to him by the flower that she really loved, which he has on like a little dresser. And so he tells Jungwon this, and Jungwon's like, fine, let me negotiate with her. Because the husband has said, well, when I had decided to sell the house, the flower drooped and started to wither. But the moment that I decided not to, it started to perk up and bloom again, right? And so Jungwon's like, fine, I'll negotiate with her then too, since you insist on bringing the dead into our negotiation table. And then it's so funny, the camera and the drama behind this. He takes those little pruning shears and he says, dead queen, or dead wife. He's like, not your head if you, not the head of the, flower, if you corroborate your husband's story, or if you don't agree, then I will snip off your, head. And so basically, he says one, two, and then goes snip, and it's just so cute, the dramatic, tone of that. But, of course, the husband is furious, and Chungwon's like, what's even more ridiculous is the fact that you are allowing the supposed dead wife to cause you to back out of a contract. And he's like, he pulls out this affidavit. He's like, look, these are what your children want as well. So sign. And the grieving husband basically gets railroaded into signing over his land for Chungwon's new golf complex. Well, what was really funny though is as he's leaving, the grieving husband says to Chungwon, may you be cursed or something like that. And Chungwon just very smugly says, fine, let me get struck with lightning. And he kind of spreads out his arms and he's looking into the sky. And lightning literally, it flashes, but it totally misses him. And then Chungwon's like, see? And then he goes on his merry way. Well, while he's driving away with his, secretary or Secretary Kim, that's when he and Tae-gong-sil, who is Gong Hyo-jin's character. Sorry, I momentarily forgot her name. That's how they meet, because the reason why is Gong-sil or Tae-gong-sil, the grandmother who was inhabiting the ghost of 404, and it was kind of a scary scene. She basically had a request for her, and it's kind of like Sixth Sense, in the sense that Gong-sil's character sees ghosts. I see that, right? And they won't leave her alone until she grants their wish. So anyway, she goes to this grieving family's funeral, and then she tells them that their mother has the secret account, and she doesn't want the son to gamble it away. She wants the money to be used to pay off all debts, pay for the funeral, and then for the son never ever to gamble again. And it's hilarious because during that last moment, Gong-sil kind of assumes the position or the persona of the grandmother, grabs the son by the lapels, and she's like, you jerk, don't ever gamble again. So anyway, as she's on her way back to Seoul, she comes across this Ajumma ghost who tells her that there should be a car soon to give her a ride. And so she's kind of hailing, and she's dressed in this white poncho raincoat, very much like the ghost that she sees. And Chu Jung-won, his car decides to just keep going, right? Well, what happens though is Chung-won, the car has no choice but to stop because the driver, Secretary Kim, gets freaked out when a ghost pops up, or there's not a ghost, but a huge flash of lightning and stuff like that, right? So, which they stop, and then Gong-sil thinks that they've stopped for her, so she runs over and then she opens the door and she's like, oh, thank you for stopping. And she says things like, oh, yes, the lady did say that you may be able to avoid lightning, but you won't be able to avoid me, and all of this weird stuff. So Chung-won has absolutely every intentions of just dropping her off at an intersection, but during that time, Gong-sil sees a ghost that shows up in the car, and she just freaks out. And so the two men feel obligated to kind of stay with her until then. And that's when Gong-sil finds out that Chung-won has this very unique ability that when she touches him or he touches her, ghosts disappear, and she's able to live this normal life because these ghosts don't bother her. And so that really becomes the premise of like this ongoing joke throughout the series thus far, where it's in Korean dramas you think like skinship or physical touching is more like a romantic nature. In this episode, this series, it's not. It's just, at least its starting point, is just to ward off all the spirits so Gong-sil can get some good sleep, or at least, be not tormented, not be tormented by all these spirits. But anyway, so each episode 1 featured a ghost, and it was the ghost of the first wife of this very famous soccer player who is scheduled actually to marry I think it's Ryong, the spokesmodel for Chung-won's mall complex, ironically named Kingdom, right? So they're supposed to have this wedding thing, but the soccer player is being blackmailed, and he thinks it's his, first wife who abandoned him at their, wedding and all of this stuff. And it basically turns out, though, that the first wife died of a terminal illness, and that it was the manager who was, in effect, sending all these blackmail letters and pictures as a way to try to get the soccer player to stop wanting to keep playing soccer. Weird thing. Anyway, so that was basically the featured ghost for the episode 1. And then episode 2 ends basic with Chungwon going up because of, I can't remember why actually. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me quickly see if I can figure out why, and then maybe people will stop emailing me as well. So there's all these great scenes too where she takes him to the hospital and all this stuff. But anyway, oh, I now know why. Okay, so Haesung is the soccer player, and as he apologizes to Chungwon for the wedding debacle and all of that at his hotel, and he says, I'll pay all the compensation and stuff. Chungwon basically says, fine, then continue to play soccer with your dead wife rooting you on, and I will delight in watching you lose match after match after match, right? And the guy's like, is that a curse? And he's like, sure, of course. I'll delight. I've never been that interested in soccer, but I'll particularly take delight in it now. Well, as Haesung's about to leave, he looks back and he tells Chungwon, well, I have a message of my own for you from Taegongshi, right? And then he gives him the message, which is that he sees a presence by Chungwon as well, or that she sees. And so, of course, Chungwon's like, what the heck? And then he drives out to go talk with her, right? And I know there's Kangwoo, but we'll talk about Kangwoo later in just a moment. So, Chungwon goes storming up to the roof where Kongshil is trying to do some laundry and trying to ward off all the spirits so she could at least get some rest. And she's just like, I just want some sleep. I just want some sleep. And then he grabs her and he shakes her. And he's like, who is this that you see or whatnot, right? And of course, once he shakes her or at least touches her, all the spirits go poof, right? And so she sags against him, but before she does, she just says, I just want to sleep next to you, and then that's how she kind of ends the episode. And so episode 2 is really cute because he finally is successful in shaking her awake, and he she's just like, I just want to sleep next to you. I just want to sleep with you. And he's like, what? Looking like that? And he's like, with this? And I love how this is a recurring thing for him. He's always like, looking like this and all of this stuff. But anyway, we find out that, of course, he thinks that she's a gold digger, wanting to, I guess, seduce him or whatnot. And he makes this comment of telling her, the least you can do, even Candy, like made sure she looked nice when she was trying to attract all her boy friends and such. And Candy is supposed to be like Korea's beloved little cartoon girl, right? Like the Pollyanna. But anyway, so I love how Kongshi just then says, you're right. And then she pulls her hair like this, the way I didn't do a very good Candy rendition, but she goes like this and she goes, then I'll be Candy. And then he's like, not on your life, not like that. But anyway, episode 2's ghost really dealt with, hold on, let me make sure I catch this. Episode 2 ghost dealt with, where are you? Oh dear. Sorry guys. Oh, yes. Episode 2's ghost was with the fountain ghost, where there's a little high schooler who supposedly died right outside the Kingdom Mall. And so this ghost story allows us then to find out some background information, a little bit more about Chungwon. And it turns out that Chungwon is actually the was kidnapped when he was in high school, and along with him, this his first love was also kidnapped, Cha Hee-soo, and she incidentally was the one who ended up dying actually. So the whole report, the news gets a hold of not only the fountain ghost story and the picture that's like circulating around on the internet, but also the fact that Chungwon, there's rumors around Kingdom Mall that Chungwon's first love haunts the place, and that's why he hasn't been able to get married and all of this stuff. And so, the statute of limitations on his kidnapping case is drawing to a close, and so the detective wants to take one last push to try to get that solved. And so he interviews and all of this stuff. But anyway, what happens is Gongsil, in trying to find out about the fountain ghost, decides to go back into Kingdom Mall late at night, and that's when she ends up meeting up with Kangwoo, the security guy, who, as far as we know, I mean, he's the team leader of the security department. He's new to the company. He, according to his lease, he only wanted a 1-month lease at the apartment complex. He incidentally moved into 404. I don't think I mentioned that. But so as far as we know, he's there for ulterior motives. Now, whether it's for good or evil, we don't know. Although my suspicion is that he may be on Chungwon's father's payroll, just to kind of keep an eye on things and whatnot. But from time to time, he'll make these very cryptic phone calls reporting his latest findings and things like that. So anyway, he ends up seeing Gongsil roaming around trying to find clues about this fountain ghost as well, and so they end up searching together in a sense. They eventually do discover who actually sent the photoshopped picture of the 3 girls in the fountain, and Gongsil is able to figure it out, and it turns out that it was this really sad story of 3 girls who didn't want to have a 4th girl because she kept messing up everything, and so they try to be nice, but at the end they just decided that they need to be very blunt with her. And so one of the girls had said, "You have something to do, right? We just wanted the 3 of us to just hang out today." And so the girl, of course, later finds out that her presence wasn't welcomed, and kind of in tears she walks away from the Kingdom Mall, and then she didn't see an oncoming truck, and that's how she got hit by that truck. And so one of the classmates ended up seeing that, and she just was so upset that the 3 girls seemed totally fine when one of their classmates had died indirectly because of their callous remarks. And so that started this whole thing about trying to get back at them. But anyway, in terms of episode 2, I think, was where we really saw a little bit more of a development between Gongsil and Jungwon, and you get this very reluctant relationship, I guess, between Jungwon and Gongsil. I'm trying to think back to what my impressions were after episode 2, which is why I should always video recap right after I watch something, right? But I will say episode 1 and 2, I liked it, even though it's a little scary at times. Thank goodness it was broad daylight, right? I do remember thinking it was cute, the whole storytelling vehicle, trying to get into more and more of Chungwon's life history through each of the featured ghosts. Episode 1 was, of course, about the soccer player's wife, and then episode 2 was about the fountain ghost, the little high school girl who had died. But I will say the way episode 2 ends, I think, is with Kangwoo, the head security guy, talking to Gongsil, and I totally forgot to mention in this recap, discombobulated as this video recap is, that Gongsil, when she realizes that Jungwon has this very unique ability to dispel all ghosts from her vicinity, that she just wants to work at Kingdom. Because if the ghosts start bothering her, then she figures at least she'll have a place to run to, right? And so she gets a job as the part of the janitorial staff at Kingdom. Well, anyway, episode 2 ends with Kangwoo coming to her as she's cleaning up for the day, and he says, "Are you almost done? Because I can walk you home." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And then all the ajumma, janitorial staff are all at Twitter saying, "Why? When did you guys start dating? Are you guys living together?" And all of this stuff, right? Because Kangwoo had basically said, "Yeah, I mean, we're in the same department, like we're going in the same direction, right? We're in the same house, so I'll wait outside and wait for you." So of course, then She's like fixing her hair, she's like, touching her, like trying to clean off her cheeks, and then Jungwon happened to be walking by, and he saw that in exchange, and you know that he didn't want to pay attention, but there's just something about her that's tugging at him, and so he whips around, and then trying to pick a fight with her, I guess, in some respects. And then okay, so I had to remind myself as to how episode 2 ended. So he wanted to kind of pick a fight with her, and so he goes stalking over, and of course he's like, she's trying to clean up a little bit, right? And before he really gets to say anything, though, she says, "Oh, I want to apologize. Had I known about your whole thing with the ghosts and all of this stuff, the dead will be dead, so the living have to move on, and all the platitudes that typically had been said to Chungwon, and which is the last thing that Chungwon wanted to hear from her anyway." And then so he basically says, because I think she says something like, "If I see her, maybe I can, tell her something." Or Chungwon says, "Fine, there's something I did want to say to her." And then of course he gets really close to her, and then he says, which basically in the English vernacular is you and then the female, dog. Anyway, so very dramatic, very provocative ending to episode 2. And I will admit, it was a little bit slow in coming. I liked episode 1, especially the trailer. The trailer that I saw for episode 1 was, it really sucked me in, because, Jungwon with his little, like, snipping, pruning shears and then snipping of the flower, I thought was hilarious. I will say the two principal actors, they have a lot of really great chemistry at the beginning, and the chemistry's building. So I really liked watching them in episode 2. I will say, just as a teaser for my upcoming video recap for episodes 3 and 4, I really, really am enjoying the chemistry that's continuing to build. And there's a lot of running jokes that get played, or get mentioned. Episode 3 I thought was good, but episode 4 just took the cake. And I know some people aren't really that fond of the Master's Son thus far, but I'm really liking it. I'm hoping that the Hong sisters, or the Hong sisters, can really continue the pacing. And in a video recap 3 and 4, you will not be seeing my hair in candy forms. So anyway, I hope it's kind of been, my 2 videos that I filmed today have been kind of all over the place, so I'm hoping that episode 3 and 4 will be much, much easier to listen to, and I don't know what else to say, everyone. This is it. I'm just gonna wish you goodbye before I just start babbling like a little dweeb. So, alright, take care, everyone. I will see you for episodes 3 and 4 very shortly. Bye!